Okay, so today I have been looking at this pond with no water in it inside the aviary for long enough. And we've got everything that we need to make the pump that's in the bottom work, except for the little tip that goes on the end to make the pretty fountain feature. But I couldn't wait anymore, so I'm going to try to plug the pump up with Jason's help and see. It has a filter on it also. The filter is kind of built into the pump. But I just want to see what happens so I know kind of what kind of fountain maybe we want to. And that's just a tip that screws on the end. It's nothing extremely fancy. It's just a little screw-on tip. But I want to see how it works and what we think we need to do to improve the pond. So with my help from Jason, he's over at Cog Hill Farm, we're going to get this going today. Right, Jason?
Right. Alright, so we got it plugged in and got it going, right?
We got it plugged in and got it going, so the product that I wanted to see finished is almost complete. We just got to get our little screw-on nozzle that makes a pattern, and we'll decide if we want it to just be a fountain. I think you can adjust the nozzle to what you want, can't you?
I think so.
And this was a pump that we had actually at the old farm. So it took me a minute to find it, stored away in the barn. But I think it's going to work out well because it has a filter built in to it, as well as a UV light that helps control the algae. But I still don't want these guys.
They're eyeballing it. Look at them.
Y'all can't come in.
They want to come see your pump.
Not, you can see it.
They want to come in here.
Say, wave at it. Hey.
That looks so good.
Yeah, look.
Look at Greg.
I'm sorry, boys and girls, but the filter wouldn't stand a chance if they got in here.
Oh gosh, no.
No. When we first started showing that we were installing a pond in here, there were so many people that said, how are you going to clean it out? Well, we had already done a pretty good job of getting all the water out of it before today, because we hadn't had a lot of rain lately, but there was a lot of mess in the bottom of it. What is it?
A little frog.
Oh.
There he goes. Oh, he jumped.
There was a lot of mess in the bottom of it, so I got this jar and I scooped all the nastiness out of the bottom. But the filter should take care of keeping it clean.
It will.
Now, when we do clean it out, all we'll have to do is put us a hose on the end of the pump and let the water run out into the yard versus getting in there and physically getting it out.
Right.
It gets it down to about that far, and then I'll get in there with my jar or whatever I'm using and scoop the rest of that nastiness out. But it, with no ducks in here, and no, the pigeons aren't going to bathe in it.
No.
But I bet they'll enjoy sitting here, relaxing, listening to the sound of it.
The ducks are going to sit here and enjoy the sound of it too.
Yeah. Do you see that blue thing over there in that corner?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's their pool over there.
That's their pool.
Yeah.
This pool is off limits. We thought at one point at the old farm, we had this big, humongous pond liner, and we thought, oh, we'll put that in for the ducks. And so we did, and we had a nice filtration system that lasted a whole day.
Yeah.
And y'all, it was the stinkiest, nastiest mess. Because you have to be, that pool, I just filled it up, and by a couple of hours from now, it's going to be disgusting. So, while we would like to have something like this for these guys that are sitting out here watching, it's not going to happen. Same with our big pond. We realized that, once it gets filled up, if we get every duck and goose we own over there, it's going to create just a nastiness.
It is going to create some.
But Jamie, over there at Soups to Boots, gave me a little tip about that. So, in the future, I'm going to take her advice and do what she does to control the nastiness in their pond.
Theirs is beautiful.
I'm glad to have this one project marked off.
Marked off the list.
Yep. Now, I'm going to see if me and Carl might hop on the beep beep with me.
Yeah.
The beep beeps are side by side.
Right.
and maybe ride around to the other side of the property and show people some things they don't get to see very often. So thank you for helping me.
Good job.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I went in and I called my buddy. I said, Boo. That's her nickname given by her mother. Would you like to go and ride with me on the Beep Beep? That's her nickname that she gave this side-by-side when she was itty bitty. And she immediately agreed, because that's something that she and I enjoy doing together, is just riding around the property and looking at wildlife, looking at tracks, looking at plants, looking at everything, right? Matter of fact, earlier today, she and I were down at the barn getting something, and I was kind of talking about how the weather was cooling off, and she said she was glad because that meant we could start walking in the woods. And that's something that's kind of like off limits in Alabama during the summer. We have a snake, you know, there's lots of different species of snakes that live here, including poisonous ones. And that's their territory. So we kind of stay out of their territory when it's time for them to move around. But in the wintertime, we feel a lot safer.
I want to say it's 4 poisonous species.
4 poisonous species.
And they're like the most common here.
That's right. So my buddy, my boo, is on my side-by-side, and she's also my best friend, whether she knows it or not.
I do know it.
You do? Am I your best friend?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now that we have all that behind us. We split. She's my best friend and Jason's my best friend. So we're a family of friends. But we're going to show y'all what some of the rest of our 40 acres of property looks like. And we've always told y'all 20 was wooded and 20 was kind of pasture. So we're going to show you. This is our first stop. And this is across from where you can see the flower gardens over there. There's Moody, there's the boy goats, Nugget, the geese, and then our house is back there. Well, this is on the right side of the driveway when you enter the property. And these trees, Marycarl, help me out. These trees, like right there, you can see one. There's another one off in the distance over here. They were here when we bought the property. What are they?
They're pears.
They're pears, but they're more like an ornamental pear, aren't they?
I don't know.
Is it a Bradford pear?
I don't know. They are either wild pears or they are ornamental pears.
But that was the only thing tree-wise that was standing in the pastures. And my good friend Laura over at Simply Making It, Laura told me if there's anything they learned from their living on their homestead and their property was when they purchased it, they cut down all the trees in the pasture, and she wished a million times over she hadn't cut down the trees. Well, we didn't have a lot to choose from to cut down, but we did leave the ones that were out here. Now, something that I have thought about that Marycarl and I can do is to come out here and limb the bottom of them up, just to make it more, you know, tree-like and give it a little bit of form. But this is kind of the beginning of the wide open pasture on the other side of our property that you don't get to see. All right, so we moved up about, I don't know, what do you think, Marycarl, 100 yards?
Yeah.
100 yards maybe across the pasture area, and you can see that there's more of those trees that we left, the pears, whatever type they are. But I mean, it looks better than just wide open property, and they will grow in time. And yes, we do want to add some other native trees. What are some of the trees you'd like to add, Marycarl?
I like oaks.
You like oaks? Well, oaks, the only negative downside to an oak is it takes most of the varieties take a little while to mature. So that'll be something to look forward to when we plant it and see your size now, and then many years from now looking back at it and saying, hey, I was just as tall as this tree when we planted it. So we'll plant some oaks, and we've got a couple of pecan trees that we would like to add out here. You like those too, don't you?
I do.
And I was going to point out that this is the area that Mr. Greg used. You can see, and I'll go over there closer, but you can see where the orange is that's kind of exposed. It's trying to grow up, but he kind of built that road to where he could take his dump truck in and out without coming through the main entrance of our property, because we do have another entrance on the other side that stays locked all the time. but it was so convenient to not tear up the area where we frequented to dump truck traffic coming in and out. So this is what I was talking about, the road area that Greg made with his bulldozer to come in and out with the dump trucks versus using our regular entrance. And you can see our house back there in the backdrop. But this is just a side of the property you don't get to see very often. And it's just simply because our animals aren't over here. And we do have, well, we would like to add some donkeys and some different things, and we have some plans in the future, but we don't exactly know where we're going to put them or how we're going to fence it. But this little area right here is kind of, it's a natural terrace, and it kind of dips down. As you can see, it's a little bit lower, and this is the area where the bees are. So I'm going to drive over to the bees and see if we can't catch a glimpse of those going in and out. Now Tanya over at Hidden Valley Acres says this time of the year bees start to not move as fast, and their ability to want to protect their hive is not so that it was at the beginning of the summer. So we're going to go over there and see if there's any activity and what they're up to. That's some activity. It's a little bit more than what I was thinking was going to be going on. You can see this hive here on the end, Marycarl, if you look, there's a lot of bees going in and out of it. Whereas the second one, not so much. So I guess it just depends on how many bees are in the hive and what's going on with them at the time.
Yeah.
But there are 8 hives here, and she was able to pull about 50 pounds of honey from these 8 hives, and they weren't here but a few months.
Yeah.
They were not here but a few months. She definitely knows what she's doing. The wind's picking up a little, and I see a lot of the bees are flying around. Alright, so this is one of my most favorite parts of the property. When we came and looked at it, I fell in love with this pine thicket area over here. And we even considered building our house right out here, but it just wasn't enough space for Mama's house to be built beside us, because it is kind of a, you can see over here, there is kind of a downward terrain, and we didn't want to have to bring in a lot of dirt to build it up. So that's why we decided not to build our house over here. But I'm going to show you the pine thicket. Not a monarch, but it's colored to kind of mimic a monarch. I just saw a yellow one go by. See him flying around and fluttering. But we have all kind of native flowers and different grasses that grow, of course, natural on this property. And Mary, I think you liked this area too, didn't you, Marycarl? Mm-hmm. So it's just an area of pines that this time of the year, you could see the brown in their needles. I guess they start shedding this time of the year. Yeah. And that's when people start harvesting pine straw, believe it or not. I never thought pine straw would be a business like selling hay or such, but there are people that manage pine plantations just to harvest the pine straw that falls. And you can
see our bees on the verbena.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. That's called Brazilian verbena.
Brazilian, and that's this right here?
Yeah.
Marycarl, how do you know that?
No.
You read it, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's a pretty wildflower. What's that orange over there? Just leaves?
Yeah.
So you can see the pines just continue on, and while we do need to do some cleaning up over in this area, and we do plan to do that, it's just somewhere that we don't frequent very often, but it's a beautiful It's a beautiful place. And it goes all the way to the back side of the property. So Marycarl, what you doing?
I'm getting pine straw for the pigeons.
Pine straw for the pigeons. And this is the property line that separates our property from the property owner next door. Now he owns, I believe it's several hundred acres, if I'm not mistaken. But he has cows over here. He used to, but I haven't seen them this summer. So I'm not sure if he doesn't have the cows anymore or if he's just letting this area grow up a little bit until he moves them over here. But we have said that our fences are not around the entire premises of the property. But this is what we mean. There's barbed wire that obviously Nugget could get through. Well, we're not going to come through here and put a fence that's solid up so that Nugget can't get through this 40 acres. Our solution is simply to leave him in the nice, large, fenced-in area that he has. It's more than ample enough space for him to enjoy. While we say we have fences to repair, this is what we're talking about. There are fences here that enable us to not be able to let our animals roam this entire 40 acres. Looks like you got a bucket of straw here, girl. They're going to be happy with you, aren't they?
They are.
Okay, so here we are on the other side of the pine thicket. And it kind of opens up just for a minute. And it goes into the back of the 40 acres, which is all very thick woods. It's basically 20 acres that are that's on the back side that's just woods. And we will hear turkey. We've seen turkey. We see deer prints. What else do we see? Whippoorwills.
Yeah.
We hear those. Those are birds that make a sound at night that's really interesting. And there's lots of butterflies that are enjoying this overgrown, well, I call them weeds, but Marycarl doesn't call them weeds.
These are mainly native plants out here.
Mainly native plants.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's a lot of passion vines, which are native. I believe those are called sickle peas.
Sickle peas, and that's the one with the yellow bloom. We'll go over there and see if we can't see it. But look at the butterflies, how they're just loving these native plants that we don't cut down very often. Maybe one time of the year when it gets really tall, we come back here.
Yeah, when it starts to brown in the fall.
Yeah, and there's no need for the lush green anymore. But for the most part, we just leave this natural and let wildlife do its thing. I mean, you can just see that everybody's just having a field day back here in the native area that was full of passion flowers, that has the beautiful purple bloom. And then the thing with the yellow bloom on it, you found out was a what?
I believe it's called a sickle pea.
That's the yellow right there that's vining like, isn't it?
The pea looking thing with the little beans sticking off of it.
So if you look back from here, you can see that the pine thicket is on this side, and then there is a wooded area which we're about to show you that kind of separates the pond from the pine thicket. So this area is in between the pine thicket, and you can start to see off in the distance over there where the dirt work for the pond has been completed. You can see kind of an orange area, and this area was, when we first bought the property, the area that we had mulched. It was so thick in here that you could not access it. So by it being mulched, we're able to drive side by side through here and actually enjoy this part of the property without having taken all the trees down. And I actually thought about coming in here and thinning out some of the trees to allow the bigger ones more room to mature, but our nature-loving daughter, Marycarl, says that she doesn't think that's a good idea because she likes the beauty of it being natural. So I think for now, that's the plan, is we'll just leave it natural. But isn't it beautiful? It's so nice to have an area that you can access that is wooded. That breeze feels good, doesn't it? So now I think we have made the loop and made it back to somewhere that you may be able to recognize. There's the barn that was here when we bought the place back there. there's Mom's house and the garage on this side, and then our side, you can barely see it. There's all the animal pens, and this is the road that goes to the dam that's around this side of the pond. And if I turn around directly behind me, that's the thick wooded area, and then you can see the open pasture. So this is the thick wooded area of the property that we do not access because it's so thick, and maybe one day we'll be able to do something to thin it out some, such as mulch it or something different. But right now it's just sitting there looking pretty. So, well, we hope nobody gets any bad effects from this hurricane that's out there in the Gulf. Ian, I believe is what its name is. Our pond is obviously still needing water, and we hope to put the ram pump in the water source back here when the weather does cool off and it's not so snaky, and start to pump some in. But for the most part, we're looking for Mother Nature to fill our pond, and it's gonna be beautiful one day, just one step at a time.